October 1943. 26,000 feet above Germany, the air is so cold that every breath burns the lungs. In the rear of a B-17 bomber, a young American soldier kneels. In his hands are 2.50 caliber machine guns, and in front of him, only a small piece of glass. Beyond the glass, there is not a blue sky, but death circling. A voice echoes on the radio, "Bandits, 6 o'clock low." This is the angle from which most bombers do not survive. The young gunner turns his iron sights toward the enemy. Two metal markers, no calculation of speed, no help for distance, no way to tell where the bullets are going. He fires, tracer rounds draw lines across the sky, but the enemy aircraft stays behind them. The very next moment, the German fighter's cannon flash. 20mm shells tear through aluminum as if it were paper. This scene is not unique today. It is being repeated hundreds of times. That same day, the American 8th Air Force sends more than 290 bombers deep into Germany, all without fighter escort. By evening, dozens of aircraft vanish from the sky. Hundreds of young men, laughing yesterday, have become numbers in history. The numbers are brutal, inhuman. If this pace continues, no bomber crew will be able to complete its assigned missions. And the most terrifying thing? The defensive system has failed. America had called the B-17 a flying fortress. In pictures, it looked like a flying castle. In reality, it was a big, slow target with a blind soldier sitting at the back. Tailed gunners, called the last wall, had a hit rate of 6 to 8%. German pilots had figured this out. They knew, come from behind, endure a few seconds of fire. And the bomber is finished, in Luftwaffe reports. One sentence appears again and again. Tell defense ineffective in the middle of this hell. An ordinary American boy is assigned. His name is Jack Harper. Age, 21. Education, didn't even finish high school. Profession, before the war, laborer in a machine shop. Jack never dreamed of becoming an engineer. He just wanted to escape poverty. The Air Force made Jack a tail gunner because he was thin and could fit into tight spaces. His training, a few weeks, a few targets, and one sentence: lead the target and pray. Jack's first mission shows him the truth immediately. A German fighter comes from behind. He fires hundreds of rounds. No result. A scream comes on the radio. Number 3 is on fire. Jack's friend, who laughed with him last week, falls downward as a ball of fire. Jack's hand stays frozen on the trigger. His eyes go empty. After returning to the ground, Jack sits in the aircraft for a long time. No celebration, no pride. He looks at his sights, the same two metal markers. I'm blind, he says softly. I'm just firing by guess. This is the moment where most people fall silent. But Jack does not fall silent. That same night, Jack returns to the hangar, a torch in his hand and a small notebook in his pocket. He looks at the glass and suddenly sees his own reflection from a different angle. This is the moment he realizes the problem is not the gun. The problem is that the gunner cannot see where his bullets are going. If Jack could see the path of the bullets, he could correct them. The idea is simple, dangerously simple. Jack begins to draw sketches, mirrors, small reflective glass, angles to obtain peripheral vision. He thinks, if I can see my tracer rounds, then I won't be blind firing. This is against military regulations. This is an unauthorized modification and could be grounds for court-martial. But Jack knows one thing: the current system is killing people. He finds a mechanic, an old craftsman who, during the Depression, learned how to make broken things work. The mechanic looks at the sketches and stays quiet. Then he says, "This will work, but it's illegal." Jack replies, "Is dying not illegal?" The mechanic smiles, "Come tonight." They gather parts from destroyed aircraft, old mirrors, a reflector sight taken from a fighter, everything unofficial, everything silent, before the sun rises, a new system is mounted on Jack's tail gun. Ugly, non-standard, but full of hope. On the next mission, a German fighter comes from behind. Jack sees not only the enemy, but also the path of his bullets. The first burst goes behind. The second comes close. The third is on target. The German aircraft is wrapped in flames. Jack freezes. This was not luck. This was not coincidence. The system had worked. But on the ground, the story is not over yet. Because in war, enemies are not only in the sky, sometimes they are also in files and regulations. The bomber's wheels touched the runway. The engine shut down for the first time. Jack Hopper realizes something. He didn't just shoot down a German fighter. He created a problem. The ground crew opens the tail section immediately. They see that something here is not standard. Mirrors, non-standard brackets, a fighter's reflector sight, something that clearly does not belong there. A few minutes later, an officer arrives, hard face, clipboard in hand. Who installed these? The question cuts through the hangar. Jack stays silent for a moment. Then he stands straight and says, "Sir, I did in the army." This sentence often becomes a problem. The officer steps closer. "Do you realize how many regulations this modification violates?" Jack does not answer. He knows, but he also knows why he is alive today. "This equipment will be removed immediately," the officer says, "and you may face disciplinary action." Silence falls over the hangar, heavy and absolute. Then a pilot speaks. "Sir, this gonna save our tail today." The officer's eyes narrow. "Wars are not fought with emotions, Lieutenant, but with regulations." That evening, a room is full. Operations officers, engineers, armament staff. On the table, gun camera footage is laid out. The projector hums. A captain speaks. "One successful engagement does not make statistics." Another replies immediately. "And bombers burning every week don't make statistics." The debate intensifies. Voices rise. An unauthorized modification is a fire hazard. Someone says, "Fire is already happening." Someone else answers. And last, the commander speaks. He is an old pilot. He knows that paper and the sky often do not say the same thing. Will do one thing. He says, "This gunner will fly the next few missions. Gun cameras will be on." He continues, "If a difference is seen, then we'll talk." Silence fills the room. This is not permission. It is a reprieve. The next mission is bigger, more dangerous, more German fighters, more organized attacks. Jack sits in the tail. In front of him, the same mirrors and the same reticle. The difference is simple. This time, he is not blind. A fighter comes from the right. Jack fires. He sees the tracers in the mirror. A slight adjustment. He fires again. The fighter trails smoke and breaks away. Another comes straight from behind. The same old deadly angle. This time, Jack does not panic. He is seeing, understanding, responding that fire that hit. The mission ends. The bomber returns. On the ground, the numbers are gathered. There is no speech, no emotional lines, just numbers, fewer rounds fired, more hits. Enemy attacks broken up. Formation surviving. Engineers watch the footage again and again. One of them finally says, "This we did not expect," in the hangar. Something has changed. What was illegal yesterday is now called interesting. Mechanics start asking questions. "What angle did you set? Why convex mirrors? How far is the reticle?" Jack answers simply, without formulas. "I just set it," he says, "so I could see." Then an order comes from above that quiet, unofficial. "Make more." No announcement, no document. Just quietly, more tail guns begin to change. Each aircraft becomes a little less blind. On the other side, German pilots are learning to. Attacking from behind is no longer safe. Some do not return. Some barely survive. Radio reports change. Tail fire more accurate. Approach dangerous. Jack knows he did not win the war, but he knows something else. Some people came back today because he asked a question. That question was not in the manuals. But war never gives much time for manuals. The next test is still ahead. Because when an unofficial solution works, it doesn't just challenge the enemy. It challenges the entire system. War never changes suddenly. It turns slowly. In the hangar now, those mirrors are no longer a curiosity. They are becoming standard, just not on paper. Every new mission brings new numbers. Fewer bombers go down. Fewer screams come over the radio. Fewer empty bunks return. No newspaper writes about it. No medal is given at the time. But in the sky, the difference is clear. German fighters no longer make the same old attack from behind. They change angles. They come from the front. They dive from above. This is dangerous for them as well. Some do not return. This change did not come from a general's speech. It came from a gunner's eye. One day, a car stops at the base. A senior officer steps out. Quietly, he examines the tail section. He does not question Jack. He touches the mirrors and stands in front of the reticle. Then, he says only this. This should be on every aircraft. It is the first time anyone says it out loud a few weeks later. This system appears in other units as well. Some were clean and refined, some were ugly, some were improved, some were simple. But the principle is one: the gunner is no longer blind, and that is enough. Then a mission comes that stays with Jack. Heavy flak, fuel line hit, hydraulics fail, the aircraft shakes. Jack keeps firing until the guns fall silent. He knows he cannot save everyone, but he does not let them come from behind. The bomber barely lands in friendly territory. The crew is alive. This was not victory. This was survival. A few months later, Jack leaves the war. No headline. No interview. He returns home, goes back to work. People ask him, what was the war like? He just says, it was cold. Years pass. New aircraft arrive. New systems are built. Computing sites. Radar. Automatic tracking, but the principle remains the same. See, understand, then fire. That principle did not come from a book. At an old reunion, a few men gather. White hair, slow steps. One man places an old mirror into Jack's hand. I kept this, he says. If that day hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. Jack says nothing. He never did. Wars are often remembered by names. But lives are often saved by quiet decisions. Decisions taken without permission. Made at the right time for the right reason. Jack Hopper may not even become a single line in history books. But every person who came back in their story, Jack is there, and sometimes that is enough.